Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we uncover the leadership life hacks that help you to experience breakout performance faster and rocket to success. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Developing your company's talent and leadership pipeline can be an overwhelming task, but your burden is over. With ResultPal, you can use the power of practice to develop more leaders faster. Move onward and upward by going to resultpal.com/fast and getting a $750 performance package for free. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, I'm really excited to talk and share the guest that I have with you today because he's actually been a longtime mentor of mine from a distance. And I just recently reached out to him because of me being able to have really this medium to do it in the Fast Leader show. And I am so excited to have Art Sobczak on the show today. Art says he hasn't grown up yet, but he was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. And at 14 years old, he landed his first paid sales job on the phone selling tickets to the police fundraising circus. All through high school and college, Art held a variety of jobs that allowed him to sit in the comfort of an office, making money for others and himself simply by talking on the phone. Art also had a weekend job during his 4 years of college as a disc jockey for a mobile music company, playing over 400 wedding receptions and parties during that time, further enhancing his speaking and persuasion skills. His sales and speaking trend continued after college in corporate sales positions with the original AT&T and with a division of American Express. Since forming his company, Business by Phone, Inc. in 1983, Art has helped hundreds of thousands of salespeople and those who might not have considered themselves being in sales to generate untold millions of dollars in extraordinary success by saying and doing the right things by phone using conversational, non-salesy methods. When he's not working or traveling for business, he's likely traveling to or at sporting events, golfing, or feeding his passion for cooking. In fact, Art has been a competitive barbecue cook for 20 years and has won several championships. Art Sobczak, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I am, Jim. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here today, and thank you for that great introduction. It reminded me some things about my past and my recent past, which included traveling to the World Series to see my Kansas City Royals win the World Championship. So I'm really still on a high about that.
Yeah, no kidding. Go Royals. Now, I've given our Legion a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, you did touch on my current passions. You got personal passions, and of course, then you have business passions. Then on the personal side, I most definitely am a passionate cook. I've been doing the barbecue thing competitively for about 20 years, but really cook everything. And as far as watching TV, and when all these people talk about the reality shows and everything else they watch, I'm normally watching cooking shows or involved in taking cooking classes online. Matter of fact, just invested in one the other day. So it's real tough for me to go to a restaurant and look at a menu and say, boy, I don't know what I can get here that I couldn't make better for myself. And that, I know that sounds kind of arrogant, but that truly is a passion on the personal side. I'm on the professional side. Even though I've been doing this a long time, this being helping salespeople say and do the right things by phone, it still truly is a passion. And I mean, I really get no greater joy than working with salespeople and seeing their aha moments and seeing them succeed and hearing them succeed when they're overcoming their hump of being fearful of picking up the phone, talking to a higher level decision maker, dealing with the resistance that everybody gets, and I don't think that will ever go away, and hopefully it'll never go away. And that's still what I do every day. And I doubt if I would ever retire, because I'll still do that in some form, partly because I'm unemployable.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Art. I mean, but maybe it's that other passion of not wanting to be employable, meaning all those passions are keeping you busy, and that's fantastic. So I know for you that, because I've read, I mean, I can't, think of how many, posts and articles and things like that I've read of yours. But like you had even mentioned, is that, it's really conversational. It's the non-salesy piece. It's the, trying to engage instead of push. And I think we all can learn from that. I mean, Dan Pink came out with a book talks about everybody being in sales, whether you think you are or not. And so that's another reason why I wanted to have you on the show, is that everybody needs to realize that, look, we're all in sales. And a lot of us, if we're not, writing something to try to connect with others, we're definitely speaking it, whether it's on a webinar and getting recorded, or on a video, or like we are here on this podcast, or trying to make that call to get in and connect. It's so important to understand that we're all in sales. And it's about connections. With that, we have to have a lot of passions that drive us. Even talking about, I know that a lot of those barbecue guys, they're pulling 24-hour shifts in order to make sure that their meat comes out so that they can win their championship. There's a lot of passion that drives that. And we look at quotes on the Fast Leader Show as one of the things that drives us. Is there a quote or two that drives you?
There are. And these two I really have followed since an early age. The first one I first heard when I was a junior in high school, and the principal or the president of the high school I went to in Omaha at an assembly shared this quote from John F. Kennedy. And he said, "Only those who dare to fail greatly will ever achieve greatly." And at that moment, I still recall 5 years ago, sitting in that assembly room, hearing that, and it was just like a slap upside the head. And I thought, wow, that really resonates. And from that moment forward, I put that into practice, including probably several weeks after that, where I took a big leap and decided to run for the student government for the next year, and put myself out in front of it was actually my first big speech ever, in front of 1,000 kids, and campaigned as to why I should get elected, and it worked, and I did, and continue to follow and live that quote, because let's face it, we all have to take risks, or else we're not going to really achieve anything of significance. And so that really has to do with risk, which is necessary for success. And then the other thing that is necessary for success is attitude. And I mean, obviously, millions and if not billions of words have been written and spoken about the importance of attitude, and it is true, particularly in sales, but in life in general. And I tell salespeople that there's probably no other profession where the way you feel affects your performance as much as being in sales. Because let's face it, people in accounting or HR could probably come in maybe half hungover and feeling like dirt and still put out a passable spreadsheet. But in sales, we really can't do that. So the quote that I have lived and shared with countless hundreds of thousands of people is from Henry Ford, and that is, if you think you can or you can't, you're always right. If you think you can or you can't, you're always right. And I mean, I've shared this when I've coached my kids' sports teams, and share it with salespeople and just really anybody in general. It's like the little engine that could, right? So I would say those two. I mean, if people just follow those two premises, they're well on the way to extraordinary success.
I think that's a great point. My oldest son, he loves the two words, "I can't." And I tell him, I was like, you know what? Every single time you say that, you're absolutely correct. Now, do you want to be correct? And it causes hopefully him to pause a little bit, and maybe that's something that he'll be able to overcome as he gets older and develops that front part of his brain, and can realize that he's actually kind of creating his own destiny when he does that. So I mean, you talk about failing and failing big, and we look at those as learning opportunities on the show, because they're just that. I mean, science has proven over and over that we learn the most when we do fail. That's actually how we learn. Even when we're babies, when we can't, kind of get that touch thing right, and we can't grab that Cheerio, and we keep failing, we keep trying, we learn how to manipulate it and move it and do other things in order to be able to get it in our mouth and reach our goal. We have to fail. So we have humps that we need to get over. Can you think about a time when you've had to get over a hump and it really helped you, take off the next time?
Yeah, I was thinking about this a little bit prior to the program, and it maybe isn't necessarily so much as one isolated instance in failure, but it definitely was as it relates to failure, but it was definitely a hump. When I first started my business, like a lot of small businesses, you're not extraordinarily successful to start out with. And I mean, I started my business pretty young. I was 22 years old and left the friendly womb of corporate America. I was a great salesperson, but not a good employee. And I always knew I wanted to do my own thing. So I left with a partner and we started this consulting and training firm. And we weren't making a ton of money, and my partner wasn't married at the time. I was. So he was the one that was taking most of the revenue out. And because I had somebody to help support me, I wasn't. Then he left and went to law school. So I had the business, but still not making as much as I would have wanted. And as luck would have it, I had a client that wanted to hire me mostly full time to run their inside sales, set up their inside sales. And I decided to take that on, which then put me back into kind of a quasi job type of situation, still keeping the business and some of the things on the side. And then what happened from there is that I got recruited away by another company, which was a division of American Express, to be to sell for them as opposed to doing everything, including operations. Well, I'm a salesperson at heart. I'm not an operations guy. So I decided to take that position. And now I find myself again working and making more money than I had ever made in my life. But I still had my business and still had my passion for my business. So now I'm essentially working almost 2 full-time jobs. Then what happened with that company is that they promoted me into another position, which now was like a director level position where now I'm running marketing programs. And it reminded me of why I hated corporate life. And at the same time, I'm thinking that if I'm really going to have the impact that I want to have, and if I want to accomplish what I'm going to accomplish in life, I've got to do my own deal full time. And that was the hump. And I decided I've got to make this leap again, a similar leap to what I had made a few years ago. It wasn't as big of a leap this time because at least I had the infrastructure in place for a business and had more experience. And geez, now I was 26 as opposed to being 20, or I was 25 as opposed to 22. So I was a grizzled old veteran by this point. And so that was so again going back to the quote. I mean, I was daring to fail greatly again to succeed greatly, and again taking the risk and taking that step, and I guess another. I'm sure there's a million quotes on taking action, but one thing that has to be there in addition to the attitude and being able to take the risk is actually pulling the trigger and taking that action, because let's face it, life is based on action. So I took that step and never looked back since then.
Well, I know that you've had a lot of the ups and downs with the economy, because that's what happens with sales. I mean, when you think about your consulting practice, I know, recently you just moved offices and, have done a few things. And so there's a whole lot of ebbing and flowing and all of that that happens when you start taking on that and taking that leap. But if you were to think about one piece of advice that you would give to the Fast Leader Legion from all that you've learned over that, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Boy, I'm not really good at just one piece of advice. Let me put it in terms of just having success and having an impact with people in general. And I would say that would be take an interest in others and put what you want to the side. Here's another famous quote I use all the time from Zig Ziglar. You can get whatever you want in life by helping enough other people get what they want. And that is really the basis for professional sales. And when salespeople don't do well, it's because they are more interested in selling what they want to sell as opposed to what the other person wants to buy. So we can break that down further and say, well, logistically, how does that manifest itself? And it really is asking questions before we make our recommendation. And I don't even like to use the word presentation in sales, because that kind of implies I'm going to be doing most of the talking. So I like to always call it recommendation, since what has to come before a recommendation is information, and making it all about the other person. And in my training programs, we spend the first part of it crawling inside the minds of other people. Who are the people that we're talking to? What's their position in their job, in life? What do they want? What do they want to avoid? And then taking what we have, how can we help them accomplish that? And then from there, we formulate the questioning strategy that we need to use in order to uncover that information. So again, it sounds simplistic, but like a lot of success principles, they work, and that is, be more interested in other people than yourself.
Art, as you were talking and explaining that, and teaching that, is I started thinking too about a lot of the internal work that takes place with the cross-functional teams and all the project work that has to happen in order to do whatever you want to do. You have to internally sell your idea. You have to internally get people to give their time, to focus in on whatever you need to accomplish. So that selling activity is universal as well. Not just from the perspective of, yes, I am sales and I can sell siding, or I can sell, financial services, or I can sell medical supplies, but, I also have to sell ideas. And I think that works universally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, going back to what you had said before about kids, everybody is born a salesperson. And anybody who has kids, or of course, everybody has been a kid, we're all born salespeople. Now, what happens is that some people just get out of it as far as that being their formal title. But every kid knows how to be curious, ask questions. They're persistent. They certainly aren't afraid to ask for what they want. They're not deterred by the no's. And in a lot of our cases, even when you have grown kids like I do, they still know how to ask for the money.
I think that happened once they realize what money is. I think they start doing that, and so they're trained by the time they get out of the house quite well.
But no, you're absolutely right. And whenever somebody says, "Oh boy, I'm just not a salesperson," what they're really saying is, "I'm probably not that good at it." But Grant Cardone has a book out. I forget the title, but it's something to the effect of "Life is Sales." And he says in there, I'm actually looking on the shelf here, "Sell or be sold." And he's got a great quote in there. He said, "Life is on commission." If you really think about it, commission in terms of either monetary or whatever reward that you're looking for. And again, the best way to get anything is to step back and say, who is this person? What do they want? I mean, if you're just looking for your spouse or your companion to go to dinner with you, instead of saying, "I want to go here," let's think in terms of, okay, what do they like? What do they like and not like as it relates to where I'd want to go? And what questions can I ask them to get them think it's going to be their idea? That sounds a little manipulative, doesn't it? But
well, that's a great point that you bring up, and I think a lot of people start, having that squirmy feeling when you start talking in that manner. But you have to kind of look where it's coming from, right? So, what's the intent? Is the intent to connect and build a deeper bond, or is it to manipulate and just get your own way? And I think where your values come from, where your values are, what your focus is, what your vision, mission, all those things start coming into play. And so what's inside you? And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get those things really mixed up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that sales has such a bad reputation, and that's a result of the salespeople out there, again, who are placing their intentions or their wants ahead of what the customer wants at all costs. And obviously, in any profession, there are people who are the crooks and the shysters and the scammers. And again, unfortunately, in our profession, there's probably more than most other professions. But selling itself, again, when done professionally, is the greatest profession in the world, because really, you really can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. And if I'm asking the right questions to get somebody to take some action, and they feel like it is something that they wanted to do anyway, we both have accomplished our objective and they feel great about it.
That's very true. So I know you're still growing up and you have, all the passions in regards to sports and cooking and your business, your work, teaching others, helping others. But when you start looking at, all the things that, you have going on, what are some of your goals?
Well, I've been in business a long time, and I never will lose the passion to accomplish something and to make a difference. To me, I could never see myself not having that purpose. And I think everybody needs a purpose. And I look at some of the guys at my country club, and all their purpose every day is to just get up and play 18 holes of golf, and they go back home and watch TV. And I thought, geez, I could never, ever do that. So my goals are to continue what I'm doing and continue learning. I'm rolling out some new learning programs here that we're working on right now that could potentially be some of the biggest things that I've ever done. So my goal is to continue and to continue reaching more people and helping people be better salespeople. And it's really cool to be able to work with kids right out of college who have chosen sales as a profession, as opposed to what many people have done. They just kind of fell into it by default because there was nothing else available. But I really, really love the fact that a lot of colleges and universities today are actually teaching something that's useful, and that is sales, as opposed to a lot of the other garbage that they're putting into students' minds.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. A dry leadership pipeline shouldn't clog your business from moving onward and upward. Get over the hump by filling the gap between leadership development and top performance with ResultPal. Rocket to success by going to resultpal.com/fast and getting a $750 performance package for free. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Art, the Hump Day Hoedown is part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Art Sobczak, are you ready to hoe down?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
What's holding me back is at times I get a little too comfortable. When you get too comfortable, then you're satisfied, and then you start to coast, and you only coast one way. You coast downhill. So I have to kick myself in the butt every so often, like many people do, to make sure that I'm motivated every single day.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Best leadership advice is to take personal responsibility for everything that you do. Because if you do it by example, other people will follow you. And if you think about it, that will take care of a lot of problems, both personally, professionally, and actually worldwide.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Be curious and always be learning.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
One of my best tools is the internet. I think it's actually going to catch on. There is more information available to us at any time in history, and whenever I'm in a line or anywhere, I'm one of those guys that's pulling out my phone, not playing a game, but I'm constantly reading something.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners?
One of the best all-time books. It's a classic. It's simply called Influence. Influence by Robert Cialdini, Cialdini.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Art Sobczak, and you'll also find a free ebook from Art titled 501 Sales Telephone Tips. Okay, Art, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have back with you. But you can't take everything. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Well, 25, I was already about 2.5, 3 years into my business. And in looking back on my career, I would say one thing that has probably held me back from even achieving greater things is the ability to think a little bit bigger in every situation. I've certainly done it. I've accomplished a lot. But if I started even earlier with just thinking bigger, asking bigger, going after bigger deals in all aspects of life, I know I would have achieved more, but it's never too late to start.
Art, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
You can connect with me in several ways. My main website is Business by Phone, businessbyphone.com. You can hook up with me at LinkedIn. I'm an open networker. You can also look me up on Facebook. I also have a blog, which is smartcalling.com. You can also find me on Twitter. All those places you can get free sales tips and information.
Art, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Woo-hoo! Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.